This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for product, and fowtlibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen, King Pearlshine, and Mognite. Class is in session. Hello, welcome back, rulers, to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast. Oh, I didn't. Jeez Louise, I'm so off today.
Did you not move us over?
Hold on, let me just replay the intro real quick.
Oh, no.
Just run it back. It's just not going to do that. Hello, rulers, one and all. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast. It's Office Hours featuring myself, Tired DMO73, Paul Reisman.
Also tired.
Mike Rance.
Incredibly tired.
And Patrick Ogrins. How's it going, buddy?
Perpetually tired.
Hey, 4 for 4, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. We gotta ironically
I was having a lot of thoughts today as I was cleaning up my basement that flooded.
I'm so glad you didn't flood where your Force of Will cards are.
Oh, absolutely. All my Force of Will cards are upstairs. But thinking about how I'm like the one water ruler stan in this entire community.
Excuse me.
Like, my basement is just flooded. Is that a sign?
Excuse me, Paul.
Oh,
Who takes them to their DPs?
That's fair. He just
I don't
commentates
you
with me.
Olivia. So. I just love water rulers in general.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about today. As always, I do want to say a huge thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel and your support. We really mean a lot. If you want to consider supporting the channel as a member, you can click that join button down below. We've had quite a few new members join in the past week, so I do want to say thank you to all of you. If you don't see your name on the intro or outro yet, it's because we update it once a month, because that's how YouTube processes stuff. So starting in 2 days, you'll start seeing yourself, which is great, but we really appreciate all that support.
Sure, we're almost over, jeez.
Yeah, if you want to consider supporting us, even at the $2 a month level to get those new emotes, and if we get enough members, we actually get to unlock new emotes, so that's a lot of fun. But we also, I do also want to mention a couple of things that you need to go out and search for. First off, if you're still looking for product from this set, you can check out Odyssey Games by emailing them down below. As far as I know, they still have a couple of pre-release kits left that you can order directly from them via email. And you also really need to go check out the sign-up information in the description for the GP promos, or for the GP in 2 weeks through Games and Geek, the Discord GP. It's going to be an absolute blast. You definitely want to go sign up for that. And we'll be using the ban list that we're talking about tonight in that new event.
Oh my god, no way.
Patrick and I got to play a bunch of games with a bunch of different matchups earlier today. Quite honestly, this format's just awesome. I already really enjoy it. So definitely going to be a fun GP. I think people are going to really, really, really want to play in it. Okay, so guys, ban list dropped. Before we even talk about the ban list, can we talk about how the ban list was dropped and how, where has this level of hype and media team been for the past 4 years?
True, but also we were thrown off so hard because one of the slides was wrong.
Yeah.
So we were
yeah.
It wouldn't be a Force of Will video without a little bit of technical error.
A little bit of technical error. But it was very, very cool to see them really embracing YouTube. They put it out. They put out the video taunting us for 24 hours before it dropped. They did it as a premiere. It got everybody talking. It got people in the chat. It was pretty cool. So shout outs to the I Spy media team working hard. And
Kudos.
getting into that grind. That was super fun. So yeah, and then we had a ban list drop, and it was bigger than I anticipated in terms of the number of changes, both unbans, rebans, and shifted bans. But honestly, this is the hat trick of 8.5 out of 10s in terms of good ban lists for me. So I'm happy about it. So before we get too big into let's discuss it, I want to go through each kind of section, and I want to have us kind of give our thoughts about that specific section of the changes. And then we'll talk about ban list as a whole, and kind of our thoughts about what comes out of the meta. So to quickly go into the first part, 3 cards were unbanned. First off, being Invitation to Purgatory. Second off, being the 1 Magic Stone. And third being Speaker of Eternal Night, Scheherazade of the Catastrophic Nights.
My PTSD.
I can't
You
believe
and
it.
everyone.
I can't believe
You and everyone else.
I can't believe they unbanned the one magic stone. Like, what are they thinking?
Yeah,
fuck! I can't believe
I'm not gonna
this.
lie.
Good.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching the video and they unbanned the one magic stone, I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I had a heart attack. I was like no, I can't do this. You can't do this to me.
And then
they
you
had me in the
realize
first
that
half.
all is okay.
All is gonna be okay. But yes,
At least I get to use this shiny new gold Scheherazade now.
yeah, I get to use my Japanese Uber again. Like, oh, so good. A lot of conversation. I got messaged by a million people of just like, oh my gosh, they unbanned Sherry. I can't believe it. She's gonna just dominate the meta, everything else. And I was like, maybe a year ago she would have. In fact, Paul and I in the era of Dual Cluster did like Sherry unbanned versus like powered Kaguya or whatever. And if you remember that Foul Wednesday, Sherry did pretty damn good in that matchup. But even over the course of a year, I think my thoughts about Sherry is that her silver bullets are not as effective because of the new strategies that have been brought into the game of Foul through Hero Cluster, right? And because of that, but also at the same time, her doll package hasn't gotten any better. Like, her doll package is still just what it was before.
It's only gotten worse if you think about it. Like,
right.
Eve was banned because she was 2-will 10-10 with quick cast. Guess what the power level is now?
Right. I mean, like, we're not dropping easy 2-drop 10-10s with quick cast anymore,
but
we have good things that are like, it's not just that's the only good 2-drop with quick cast anymore, right? And so Sherry nowadays feels like she can't be built the same way she was before. And even when you're building her with new age stuff, in my opinion, and then I'll pass it to you guys to give your thoughts, I think she's a solid, like, in the hands of a good pilot who makes good meta calls, a tier 1.5. Otherwise, I'd put her in like the tier 2 for like the average player base in terms of her strength. And I'm gonna put that into the world and see what you guys think.
Well, let's go
think
first.
We need to admit that the R&D team was like really unsure of whether or not they should unban Sherry. And if it proves to be too powerful, which they think there is a possibility that she might be, they would reban her. Like, this is the statement from the company, right? I'm going through and like making all of our graphics for Force of Will right now, of the ban cards, the ban combinations, etc. And that really stood out to me because there is no other card on that list that has that much hesitation attached to it.
Yeah, so that is a big thing about the ban list as a whole, is like, which I think is kind of cool, right? That they are actively saying, we're going to experiment because of how long this card has been out of the environment. We're going to experiment bringing it back in, knowing full well and out the gate saying, if this was a mistake, we will correct it immediately, right? And I think that's awesome, like, just as a concept as a whole, but even with outside of being Sherry specifically. Patrick?
I feel like the story deck is still very strong.
Yeah.
Since it's still, you can make your non-quick cards quick cast. Like, I brought up that I thought the worst thing Sherry has right now, that is, well, not worst, but like the best thing Sherry's bringing to the table now is, again, quick cast Black Tears.
That's not actually quick cast.
That's not actually quick cast, so it can't be fair spelled. But a lot of
it can't be don't cheated though.
It can be don't cheated, yes.
That's a big piece, because like when Sherry was around, don't cheat wasn't a card.
Yeah.
But then you have Painter Gears plus Last Days of Powerless Dragonoid as a combo.
That's a cute power play for her. She can just make any chant fire and then use Last Days for it.
We still have Seeds of Rebirth in the story deck. Like,
yeah.
There's still a lot of good cards in the story deck, but that's
the biggest thing about Sherry now is that, like, you're not really playing her for dolls. You're playing her for the story deck, right? And so the story deck is why you choose to play her, and it could still choose to be very good. But in that sense, like, that's just her. I'm a green-black ruler. Here's my gimmick. So it'll be interesting to see if that gimmick holds true in a competitive strength.
Real talk, I'm pretty sure the only doll that deck's really going to see play is Last Audience, just because
Correct.
it is a bit of power. It's the combat trick. It makes the
Correct.
game interesting.
Manipulation. It's combat
Yep.
manipulation. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you
Forced
have the
attacks.
idea of like, which also you also have the idea of like we used to play Puppet Maker to make Last Audience better. Now we have Institute.
Yeah.
So now we can make Last Audience a lot bigger with Institute very quickly.
And that's just
Yeah,
a doll Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure. Last thought. You people joke. But
Nope.
there's a reason why I mean, like, people in the community have joked about the fact that I love Last Audience as a card, and if I was to choose to make myself a promo, I would pick that card. It's because it's actually a ridiculously good card, even today. Like, so...
What if Sumo Artichoke, but better?
Correct. And Quick Cast.
And Quick Ass. But out of Shield Blast. Sad.
Yeah, I would
Too
also say,
sound
like,
for
in
Quick
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Cast.
Unbanning Snatch Deal for one list and then slapping it back on. Yeah, I think, like, experimentation, I think, is great. I think, like, you can truly, like, not a ton of experimentation. Like, this is very, like, narrow-focused, right? But it was done with the intent of, like, if this is too much, we already know we can pull it back, and that's okay.
Very importantly, I think Sherry's going to do 3 major things to the format.
Yeah.
The first thing, I think graveyard decks are going to be absolutely shreked out of existence. The ability to just have Evil Elemental Uprising whenever you want is a really big deal, especially when you're playing with the tight corners that you do in Fow's mana bases. I think people are going to have to really learn to play around it and bait it out and then go off.
Yeah, for sure.
But it also means that I think that players that aren't good at playing those graveyard decks will be punished much harder than usual.
Correct. Yeah. So that's
Second
one.
thing. Yep. Point 2. I think that it's going to become probably the most oppressive thing for grind game decks. I think, obviously, with Ruin Story being able to flip things back over and constantly recycle things, obviously, we know that whole deal. But I do think that with that, plus some of the tools that have been created throughout the years, I'm immediately off the top of my head, like Castle Beatrice is probably one of the big ones that I think of when I think of like a Sherry grind game style deck. So that's my thoughts there as well. I think that it's going to be probably the one thing that will kill a decent amount of like fringe play grind decks.
Yeah, I would say that, like, we're in an environment where there's a lot of other things that were keeping those decks off the format anyway, because, like,
Yeah.
the good mid-range and control decks were just already grinding you out better, right? So it's not like a deck that, like, well, I guess I have reach. Like, that's not really a way to play Force of Will right now. It's like, I guess I have reach if the game goes long. It's like... So I don't necessarily know if number 2 Sherry's doing that specifically. I think just Fow in general. But I see what you're meaning in the fact of, like, again, she eventually gets to a point where she just generates an infinite value. So you have to be really respectful of that, right?
Yep.
And then your third. Sorry, I jumped.
And then my third point, approaching the truth means that you get a little bit of extra selection to play a pretty decent mid-range style gameplay. So I'm really hoping that Cherry brings actual mid-range back into the game.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I said actual mid-range. I know you say that mid-range is in the game.
I've argued at you for months that mid-range exists in FAO, and you've refused to play and see that it's...
And I refuse to believe you as well. So anyway.
I will say that the one thing that Sherry does bring to the table, I think that, as we talked about before, I think the strength that Sherry brings, that's the same strength she brought before, which is the fact that unlike any other ruler that has, like, none of the rune rulers could do this. Stranger deck rulers, I don't think could as well. I don't think you could sideboard strangers, if I remember correctly, unless you were Magna. She's the only ruler that gets an extra deck that can be swapped between games, right? And that is actually something to think about, that she brings to the table that other green rulers don't. And so that is, like... She's the core of what a Sherry deck looks like is going to look very different. The story deck is going to be what feels like old Sherry, right? Her main core is going to look way different, and which is why I'm not counting her out as like a solid tier 1.5 like ruler even in today's standards, right? I think that's still got some oomph to it. You just got to know that you're not just going to be able to play doll spam tribal and be successful.
I'm also very excited that she is one of those rulers that has energized from both of Garion's modes.
She
That's-
doesn't.
She doesn't because
They
of
actually
the ruler
fixed
collection.
her.
Are you serious?
Okay, so she
Because she's
only
green
has
black.
green
She's
energized.
green black on the back side, not on the front. She's only green on the front, so she only has energized green.
Like
She's
I'm
actually
only
only
has
black
white
on
now.
the back.
Oh, that sucks.
She goes from green to black.
Oh, right,
Like,
that's
she
right.
does
She
not-
flips into being
she-
a black ruler. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
She
a
used to on
change
the
to
old.
her.
She used to on the
I'm
old
will-
printings, the TSW
Yes,
printings.
correct. Imul had the same thing
Ah.
where she was white, where she was white black energized, but no.
Well, that makes Evil Elemental Uprising early way worse.
I mean, with the number of great stones we have, not really, but sure.
No, I mean like turn 0 essentially.
Oh, sure. I
I don't know why you would do it on 0, but okay.
But okay.
Go off.
Any other thoughts about Sherry before we talk about Invitation to Purgatory? Because I do want to talk about that really quick. Got
No.
it. Perfect. Invitation to Purgatory. I don't really think this needs much discussion. Invitation to Purgatory. I will sum up my thoughts about this as the following. Approximately 10 people messaged me saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they banned Invitation to Purgatory." I went, "I don't think it's that much of a problem because I'm not sure what you're sending to the environment." And they went, "Yeah, it's busted." And I went, "Give me an example." And no one came close to being able to make me anything remotely ideal. They were all just like, I think there might be something." And I went, "There's not. We can move on now." Like, even, and I will put it to this point, even Lars from Germany, who is a man known for, on day one, coming up the most ridiculous possible breakable combos that are fragile and usually don't, like, he usually moves on to something more consistent, but, like, off the cuff, this man has such a breadth of knowledge about the cards in this game that he comes up with something. And even he asked in the server, "What can we do with Invitation to Purgatory?" And no one could answer him, including himself. So I was like, cool. Okay, I think that's a fair point of, like, it's a card that can come back. It's okay.
Yeah.
Ryan,
It was
it was
like
me.
a
I was one of those
really-
people.
Yeah, it says here that the graveyard decks were very popular. That they had too many tools to dump all these things to the graveyard. With
Okay.
harvesting season being a sort of like random mill 10, and this being a very specific mill, it enabled a lot of combos back in the day. But I mean, it's there
Yeah, it's a tool,
until
right?
it's used again.
So
Right.
back in the
It's
day, very
it's a tool.
importantly, very importantly, back in the day, this was used in many turn 3 OTKs with stuff like Umar, which is why
Yes.
it got popularity. But like
Yeah.
turn 3 OTKs using Invitation to Purgatory to send a thing to book a vibe on back is like so 2019.
And
Yeah.
the tools that we have to be able to punish that have improved significantly.
Yeah.
The things Invitation was broken with were all hit. Correct. Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Of, like, Invitation itself, I don't mind Invitation itself as a cool tool for people who want to play mill reanimator decks. That's neat. Let them have that tool.
Yeah.
The things that made Invitation something that was worthy of banning have either all been hit or are so easy to interrupt now that it's not even funny. So, like
Like-
it's not worth playing those things.
Like, what are you gonna do now with Invitation? You're gonna like,
You're gonna mill 2 zombies returning from the Pyramida.
that's fun. I like
And
that.
and sure,
Yeah, sure.
I guess. Yeah, you got it.
Fine.
2 7/7s.
2 7/7s,
Sure.
you milled another 4 cards.
Sure wish there was a way to just mill 10 and get it out of the way early. Oh wait, there's a person
For one less will.
mana.
Yeah.
Well, you still go with 1 left. Because you have to remove
Yeah, you have
1
one
for
will
Satan,
left,
but
'cause
you have 1
one
life
Sa-
still.
But then you also have to play Satan.
That's fair.
Yeah, that card's awful. Like actively bad, and also the biggest box of text on a Force Will card since like what new
Correct.
New Athenia.
Correct.
have to
I think
read
probably
Satan
New Athenia
again,
might have the
actually.
most for it.
These
Yeah.
are Endymion.
Can
only
somebody
be
give
one
me
Athenia.
somebody in chat? Give me the word count for Satan versus New Athenia. Like I just need it.
Okay, so let's talk about the cards that were full banned. Are we good to move on to there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go in order.
Wait, we didn't talk about the
of-
one Magic Stone coming back.
Oh my
Sure.
god.
We're talking about it. We're gonna go in order from needs no discussion to most discussable. Okay. Spirit of Decay. You know what you did. You're banned.
Rip.
Zeus, the first Olympian. You know
what you did.
You're banned. I will say though that like Zeus has seen a drop off in terms of competitive success, but I will say that's mainly because the players who are really, really insanely good at him already have invites and stuff, so they're kind of just playing other stuff right now. A case in point, at FowFest, Paul Martinson showed up on Zeus and won. So like he was like, cool, this is an event that matters. I'm gonna play Zeus. I'm a good player. I'm gonna win the event. Like, so Zeus knew what he did. It's time for him to go. I'm going to go to
Maribel,
talk about, which is Maribella, Sincere Engineer, Heart to Heart Talk. Specifically, Heart to Heart Talk is the card that we actually banned. We just can't. They're combined together, so rip. This makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense to me. I've had conversations with a lot of people about this in terms of like the existence of Heart to Heart Talk in the format creates a limiter on design space for upcoming rulers that like you have to be careful what you print on them, because if you print it so strangely, Maribella will just make it better, and therefore it just gets like astronomically crazy.
Speaking of, really quick, do you remember when we got the first drafts of Moon Children and they were pay one, produce either of the colors they fixed for?
Correct. That was the biggest. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. The demo printing of them, right? But like a simple mistake of like that makes it through, not considering Heart to Heart Talk, suddenly cracks something open. So I think overall it's safer to just get rid of it overall to prevent further issues. Like I will say this, there was one ruler who probably, you know, it wasn't really meta relevant, that losing this is kind of a hurt to them, which is Wolfgang 2. But I will say, though, that Drywing's not on the meta anymore, so he can actually just pivot back to playing Residence, right? It was already a conversation of Residence versus Maribella for a long time, and we can just go back to playing Residence now, which is fine.
They can put the other Maria in it.
Yeah, we can still play blue by playing Little Maria, which is fine. So that's that one. That's my thought there. Let's talk about Death Metal, Sea of Metal. So this one was interesting to me because I used it. I put it, when I gave the feedback to the company of what I was hearing from the community, I sent it to them as a maybe something needs to be done now with Death Metal, not like everyone agrees that it absolutely needs to get hit. Some people were like super strong for it. Some people were like kind of meh. Some people were like, well, maybe, you know what I mean? So the feedback I gave to the company from what I heard in all the different communications was not conclusive, but maybe about Death Metal. So to see them hard ban it, but I will say, having seen them now just made the decision to hard ban it, I am relieved. Because the idea of the things that you can do with that extra 2 will on turn 0, I wasn't necessarily abusing it in my Aristella lists, but I played against the deck that was, but that was only one of the things that it could do about it. And so doing like just eliminating that T0 will production, I think it's just inherently better for the design space and the game space competitively.
Did they literally ban my list because of that turn 0?
Exactly. It's the same kind of idea.
Yeah, I feel like everybody thought that something should happen with it, but that we weren't sure, like, do we combo ban it with this? Do we combo ban it with this? So they were like, all right, instead of trying to consider all these different combo bans that we would try to put with it, it's just gone.
Yeah, and they said that in their discussion, their point. They were just like, we could have combo banned it with all the H1 rulers, or we could just keep it simple and get rid of a card. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Because
how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man?
If you think that you were playing Death Metal in T2, you're wrong. Like, I guess, like, you kind of are, if you really wanted to. But he has much better accelerators that don't require you to open yourself up to Angelic Battle Barrier or Light Child. I think our list for the channel that I think the list that I was personally playing played 2 copies and never felt sad if I never saw it. because I had other things to make it work. They could have banned it from the side. Let's just keep it simple and just hard ban things. Let's not add even more layers to this.
We've
ban
already
list.
gotten combination bans. Like, that's already way too complex banning for most games to handle. Like,
Todd, Angelic Battle Barrier not being hit. I'm okay with that. I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty because I mean Patrick and I can agree, and Paul and I can agree. There are plenty of decks nowadays that you have Angelic Battle Barrier in your hand for, and you're just like, well, this is never getting cast for free, and if I cast it for free, they were probably already done casting spells anyway. Like, it's a nice thing to have for when. Yeah, it's a nice thing to have for when combo decks.
They'll just play around it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's much easier to play around, and the idea of I'll say this until the cows come home. Instant speed silences. In terms of like, oh, well, before you draw, I'm going to silence you. In an era of how many quick cast stuff that we have, quick cast bodies that we have, is not really that great. I think I've played games against people where they're just like, well, you're at 3 stones going to 4 stones. You could maybe go for a Dexia's advice or something, so I will Angelic Battle Barrier you before recovery. And I'm like, cool. Draw, call stone, pass. I have 6 quick cast cards in my hand. It's like, wasn't probably planning on doing anything this turn anyway, right? So I think that Angelic Battle Barrier is a nice threat to like super greedy combo decks, which people will still try to play. So that's my point there. Any other thoughts on Death Metal before we get to the last hard banned card?
Continue.
Last hard banned card is Prototype Magi Trooper. That's all. Salute.
Card number 40.
Goodbye, Upstart Goblin. With a body.
Yeah, Prototype is there are so many parts of Prototype that if he had been designed not so wide open, I would have been fine with, but it was just too open for what it did, and too many ways and too many ways that we manipulated around it. Like even adding the text of like this card can only be played from can only enter the field from hand, right, or something like that to stop it from just being like, you have anything that searches and reanimates stuff, or anything like that.
I feel like they also could have made him cost 1 and then said, if your ruler is a Gears, you can play this card for free.
Yeah, something like that. So I just think it was a space of like, he was designed too open, and so he deserves to leave at this point. So I'm okay with that. Certainly takes a string. And before anyone says anything, Aristella didn't get hit. Prototype Magi Trooper is a hit to Aristella because that boy was abusing her. Like the greedy Aristella lists were absolutely abusing Prototype Magi Trooper. So don't tell me they weren't, because they were. Overall, solid bans in terms of hard bans. Every one of those hard bans I can get behind. I'm a little surprised no Sprinting Steward, but hinting Prototype Magi Trooper is kind of something that inherently makes Sprinting Steward not as strong, so I'm like, yeah, okay.
And Death Metal also technically does hit Sprinting Steward as well, because they would be like, all right, we're going to play the thing for free. Sprinting Steward it, kill you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Next up, we have the no longer in the combination ban list. A bunch of things that were removed from the combination ban list because a part of the combination ban was hard banned, so that makes sense to just get rid of it. But going down the list, to the ones that weren't because of something else getting banned. Excalibur Genesis plus Shining Heart Scorching Hero.
Wow. Faria got her win condition again.
I mean, she has better ones, in all honesty, nowadays in today's format. But it's one of those things where let her have it back. Like, I'm okay. Let her have it back.
Great. No, let her have it.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. You can have it.
I think that card is very much them fixing the most heavy-handed and just not necessary combination bans from the very first combo ban list. And for me, to have that fixed within a year is also like great. Like, well done. Like, you made that fix.
You did it. Good job.
Almerius plus Moojdart. Tag 6 Sages have an actual coherent deck that they can play again. I'm okay with this.
Insane. Rest in peace.
Start at 7,000 life and 6 cards in hand again.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine
Rest
with
in
it.
peace, Gruz Ballesta. You will be missed.
It's not like we start with 5,000 life anyway right now.
Because of
Wall.
Magic Stone of Moonshade and Sealed One-Eyed Dragon. Our friend Jordan, who has a wonderful channel by the name, I think his channel's name is, what is the Mimi guy, the Mimi tribe? Shaka. You can go look up Shaka. It's like just Force of Will Shaka. He did a wonderful video explaining his kind of thoughts about predictions for the ban list, and he did a really good job talking about Moonshade plus Sealed One-Eyed in being like, this actually unbanning them helps non-tricolor ruler decks, because they were just playing Sealed One-Eyed and filtering for will anyway. So like, let other rulers take a risk, but then be able to play multicolor and make use of a really good spot removal draw piece. Like, just give that to non-tri rulers. Let them have it back. It costs them life. Let them have it. So I support it. I support that one. Call shot for sure. Mikage Raya in Final Stance, I think, was printed purely to go alongside with Almerius Moonstart getting unbanned.
Nice. Almerius is a win condition again.
That's the turn 2. Take another turn again.
Yeah. But again, in the same vein, like, we have so many ways to remove the graveyards. We have also, I will also say too, that like every person in the game just got a new Lorite. Right? In the form
and
of
it's a normal.
Cube. And it's a normal, so it's super, like, I think I have like 28 of them easily, right, that I can hand out to people. So that, to
Killua,
me, the Killua,
Gorilla in the City.
Pay one red or pay one green to just get one mode, and one of the modes is cancel and automatic. So like, there's a lot more ways to interact with Final Stance, which is fine. So let him have it back. It's cool.
Also Sherry's back.
Yeah, also Sherry's back. So like, let Almerius Moonstart have that tool back. Wind Servant of Ragnarok plus Ragnarok Invading Demon Lord. The ban list committee picked up the phone, dialed, called Minha, and said, "We're sorry. We'd like to give you one format where you can play Wind Servant of Ragnarok and Ragnarok together. Is that okay?" And he went, "Yes." And they hung up the phone, and then they unbanned it. That's exactly what happened. And you can't tell me otherwise.
Jeremy, you're about to explain this, and you don't have to explain anything. It's literally just a ban that shouldn't have happened.
See, but here's the thing. I don't necessarily. I will put this on record. Okay. I would not be surprised if within 6 months this goes back on the list.
Jeremy, come on now, man.
I'm not saying I'm advocating for it. I think it's cool. Let Ragnarok players have this, right?
Ragnarok players need something, man. They're fucking
when I say
Ragnarok
players, when I say Ragnarok players, I mean Minha. Let Minha have something.
Minha right? Is also like a demon when it comes to luck.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like Minha is like,
no, he's only a demon when it comes to luck.
Like blessed.
When it comes to singleton decks.
That's why I'm saying I would not be surprised if Minha does something crazy within the next 6 months, and suddenly we're just like, what is Ragnarok doing? And then this goes back on.
Problem is, Ragnarok's not doing it. Honestly, the ban list should... No, the combination ban list should be Wind Serpent Ragnarok plus Minha.
There it is. There it is.
Should be Ragnarok plus Minha. And he's like, all right, I guess I'm playing Magna or something.
Yeah.
You have to put Magna on there, too. Anything singleton.
On the forbidden players list, it's just like players who are banned, players who are banned from using a specific card. Yeah, combination banned, Minha plus Ragnarok. Like, just not allowed.
This is how the combination ban list and the player ban list look like February 24th.
There we go. All of the taking combination bans off, I think are great. I think they're all fine. Like, it's cool to see them be willing to take those things off and give those tools back to people. Like, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we go to the new combination ban list.
Was that everything?
all-
Nice.
So we have Pumpkin Witch plus Asuka and Asuka Gravekeeper of Tsukiyomi, so both versions of Asuka, which now means that she can't, because we haven't seen the CR, we don't know if contract looping has been fixed yet, but Asuka just cannot say, oops, I have a board and it has swiftness, good luck. And to me, I'm okay with that. That's fine. That does the job.
That's fine.
Yeah, other decks can still use Pumpkin Witch because Pumpkin Witch is a cool card. I would say that the deck that is being the most abusive with it is Asuka, so just hit Pumpkin Witch with Asuka and I'm fine. That's fine.
But
any thoughts there from anybody?
oh, just called it. Pumpkin Witch.
Yeah.
did nothing
Yeah, it's
wrong.
fine.
It's Asuka's fault.
We did talk about this like earlier. I was like, Pumpkin Witch and something needs to get hit, or Pumpkin Witch just full on the ban list again, because a lot of decks were just abusing Pumpkin Witch for, hey, my opponent tapped out, kill you.
Can somebody explain to me why this is a problem?
Okay, so Pumpkin Witch. So here's the idea.
I know Pumpkin Witch does. Explain to me what Asuka does, please.
So here's so Asuka's contract is pay 1 green, pay 1 black, destroy any up to the total cost of stones you control on both sides of the field, and then mill that many cards from your deck and then contract. And her contract is cast from either player's graveyard
Or graveyard.
total cost of resonators equal to the number of stones you have. And so what was but the problem here is that a lot of what she was reanimating was stuff that would generate her more stones or let her or draw power a bunch and get a bunch more stones. And so then the way that the CR currently works until the new CR happens is you can contract multiple times per turn if you have the ruler again. So what she would do is she would do that, generate a bunch of value, usually make your opponent discard a bunch of cards by like what she's killing.
And then play another one, scoop up your board, and do it again.
She would cast her contract targeting the J ruler that she put into play with her contract so that she could then immediately recontract and just like kill everything she just killed, immediately reanimate it again. And the end result was always getting Black Witch, which then just grabbed you a Pumpkin Witch from the sideboard and then just gave it all swiftness and you died, right? So you got rid of the Pumpkin Witch. She can't do that anymore.
Question for you guys then. This is very reliant on the graveyard. With Sherry back, would this still have been a problem if Sherry
She has things that naturally protects the grave.
Her addition protects
Alright,
grave, and we have
yeah.
Dark Alice still.
Her cocoon that she can start the game with literally says your opponent cannot remove cards in your graveyard from the game.
Perfect. Gone. Done.
Yeah. So
wait, but we can use that card with legend that can kill additions. Wow, there we go. We did it, guys. We solved the format.
Anyway, so that's that. Machina the Machine Lord, so Machina 1, plus Little Maria Archaic Legacy, absolutely makes sense. It was just going to be another Warhorse, like, for Machina, and we don't need that. So stop.
Horse!
Layla, Maiden of the Swamps, plus Child of the Ethereal Moon. I don't necessarily know if...
I was literally about to say, Mono Black Child of the Ethereal Moon sounds awful.
But the thing is, it's not though, because you have the Moon Children to filter, so your black stones become whatever other color you want.
I guess.
So again, I was in a position of like, I see the strength of it. I think I personally probably would have watch listed it versus like pulling the trigger on it now, but I'm okay with it. Paul, you seem to have thoughts.
Yeah, I think this was maybe to assuage folks who were like hyping up Lila to be like this amazing engine that was like going to break the meta game. And
spoiler alert, Lila hasn't been good since 2018.
Correct. It was a good engine. Like it ramped you stones in black, which was very unique, and there was no good way of using Lila without Sacrificial Altar. So this is like the one time she was actually going to be decent.
This is a God's Art, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a God Art that you banish as cost for Layla. So like you have
but
Layla on field, you just automatically get it.
if you could do this multiple times, I would have said that this needed to be banned. The fact that this is once per game, I feel like this is heavy-handed.
Yeah, it does feel like there wasn't enough data in community dialogue or in tournaments, not that we didn't have many, to really justify this ban quite yet. But
I feel like it's a pipe dream. I don't know.
But
I'm not a fan of it.
I feel like I'm not opposed to them doing it. I just don't know if I would have done it yet, if that makes sense, right?
I will say one thing. I did play the Layla engine in the Converging Wills event in my Oscar deck. But I played with Darkchild instead. So that way it was a more like versatile guard art, so I could shoot my opponent's stuff, or if in an emergency to shoot the Layla. But then instead of like doing that, I just sacked it off with like Dark Alice. Like,
yeah,
I don't think that this was the hit. If Layla was going to get hit in some way, I don't think this was the correct thing to hit it with. Yeah. Outside of, hey, I'm going to see 3 cards.
It seemed like the most easy thing to hit for a Layla. Like I just kind of we just wanted to hit Layla, so we did this. But again, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know if I would have done it yet. Okay. Last Secret Sword and Raging Messiah, one of the 2 Raging Messiah's bans that are thank God, because if the opening hand and you're going on the draw is 2 Raging Messiah and a Last Secret Sword, you win the game.
Unless you're
Mike's about to disconnect. Here we go, everybody. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. There it is.
There it
Oh, is it 9 o'clock? Oh no, it's still like 15 minutes before 9. That's early.
He disconnected.
Hello, I got blasted for 4,000 damage. Hello.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. I had 2 Raging Messiah in opener. I went second. You played a card, and I just went double Raging Messiah, Last Secret Sword game.
Unfortunately, I was Belial, and I got low-righted. Oops. Anyway.
They didn't have Goose on board.
I mean, like, it's fine.
I didn't take a gander.
There are some things that like Raging Messiah can still do that are really cheeky, but like this is one of the ones that's just like I just didn't want to see that happen. Another one that people are doing right now is like Artillerist plus Banquet Demon plus Raging Messiah, and I'm like, yeah, but that's inherently more vulnerable because I can do so many things to interact with Artillerist that I can't do to interact with Last Secret Sword. Like it's just, I think that's just better.
More variables you have in the combo. It's like, cool, I can interact with any one of those 3 pieces very easily.
Yeah, for sure. Alejandro called. That was the 40 hit of Messiah to Mike, was knocking you out of the thing. Okay, so that was good. The other one was Ainz plus Raging Messiah, which was like also thank goodness for getting rid of it. Good job. Because Raging Messiah is a Gears, so Ainz could just like reveal it at the start of the game and be like, "Hey, I'm my list now. Remember me?"
So you discarded Raging Messiah and then removed it from the game using your own Ainz Raging Messiah effect, and then you started burning your opponent. Like,
anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, exactly, Roderick. Oh, Artillerist, let me Fossil Girl in the seat. Like, there's so many more ways to be able to mess with, like, Falling into the Cracks of Time can stop it. Like, there's so many more. Parry can stop it. Intimidate can stop it. Having Barrier can stop it. Like, there's so many ways to be able to stop Artillerist that couldn't interact with Last Secret Sword as easily. So it's just nice to, like, get that uninteractable method out. Oh, yeah, nasty strat, for sure. Be prepared. That's why I'm talking about it. Watch out for artillerists. So then, going back up, we have Selective Decapitation plus Painter's Gears. This was another hit to both Aristella and Ainz. This was a hit to Ainz to stop him from doing this like just raw value pressure game with Dragon of Solari that we've seen, which makes a lot of sense. Especially since like they just got rid of Ainz's like engines to abuse his 0 drops, 1 by hard banning and 2 by getting rid of the engine to recycle them a bunch of times. And so like I'm okay with that. That's good. Thank you. Inferno plus Summon the Dragon of Death, Unknown Mother Goose. We said, Mom, can we get Belial? And Mom said, we have Belial at home. And then they said, no, Dad took it. Dad took Belial at home.
Dad
Look
left.
at that, Belial.
Dad left to go pick up cigarettes with Belial at home and never came back.
We don't have Belial Estema at home anymore. Which it just makes a lot of sense to me. Like the other problem I think to get rid of that is the fact that Belial Estema, Belial being banned with Inferno, is infinitely more, in fact, actually infinitely more fragile than Unknown Mother Goose plus Inferno, because of the fact that Unknown Mother Goose, if you respond by killing her, she just goes, okay, well, I'm back to 1,000. Like, she has a naturally built-in, like, buffer to herself. So, like, it made sense for them to do this ban.
Rip Rustin. I forgot.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the Rustin ban.
Way to call him out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, poor
Savage.
Rustin. He did. I will say in the chat today, Rustin was like, I was gonna play Foonf, and then the ban list dropped, and now I'm gonna play someone else. And I went, oh,
Man.
Rust in peace.
Rust in peace.
Yeah.
Phantasmal Ascendant plus Magic Stone of the Eclipse. I get it.
Sure.
Permanent stones.
I get
I
it.
love
Up a
permanent
stone
ramp.
That's gonna let me get another permanent stone. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is that even really like bad?
It's a thing that like, if they're not gonna ban Phantasmal Ascendant outright, at least take away the most abusable things that Phantasmal Ascendant can do.
Yeah, you're
like so I'm
right.
okay with it.
Sure.
Now here's the correction that was different than the video. The video mentioned Deus Ex from Hero Cluster plus Dexia's Advice. The actual ban is Guinevere Spacetime Watcher plus Dexia's Advice, which is a Dexia's Advice nerf and not a Deus Ex nerf. Because in terms of hitting Prototype Magic out as a Dexia's Advice player, hitting this combination and hitting Prototype Magi Trooper make it very, 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 very difficult to abuse Dexia's Advice. Dexia's Advice is a strong card. I will go on record as saying it is a strong card. In terms of being able to cheese it and abuse it, the tools that it would benefit from trying to cheese and abuse have gotten significantly narrowed. And so now I think it is just a strong card. So for me, this is enough of a hit to Dexia's Advice that I feel comfortable. So I'm fine with it. That's my thoughts. And as the resident Dexia's Advice expert, because I top 8 in a big event with it. Thank you.
Yeah, I got no thoughts. I don't know what either of these cards do. Anyway, continue.
No thoughts, that empty.
The last one is Setting the Stage of Providence plus Magic Stone of Rain. Paul, these are both blue cards. Why do you think they did this?
Because they hate blue.
I'm also gonna say I Spy is probably the same people who banned this and flooded my basement at the same time. So
Dang. Sabotage.
They're like, no. We need to get that Reisman kid off of blue because we're trying to make blue bad.
I mean, they've succeeded for how many years? 10 years now?
Yeah,
Roughly.
pretty good.
Yeah, they've been doing a pretty good job.
But they keep making it better. They keep combo banning blue cards.
I honestly, like, I support this. I support this from the same line as, like, it essentially gives anyone any ruler a potential access to the force resonance of setting the stage.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me is like, that's not the intent of that card. Right?
Yeah.
Like the intent of that
design team banned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they didn't if you want to make it unchaseable, play Deus Ex. If you want to use it outside of Deus Ex, it's going to be vulnerable and you have to accept that.
Yeah.
Rance. What's your question?
Any tournaments with Magic Stone of Rain in it yet, right?
Nope.
Okay. I think this is heavy-handed, and I think this is unnecessary. I feel like that stone's not going to do anything.
I heavily disagree. I think that's
I'm just going to throw it out there.
This GP. think it's just that stone's going to be everywhere at the G.
I-
I'd play it.
I
I
am
would be
going
playing
to
it.
respectfully disagree, and I hope that I'm right.
Alejandro's in the chat right now. I think one of the best 3 decks of the meta is Aristella Blue, White, Black Control. And I absolutely would be playing Magic Stones of Rain.
All right.
Not even close.
All
Have
right.
any time.
Oh yeah.
Gentlemen's agreement. Then.
Let me talk about this, Mike.
Okay.
Uncancelable Loki's Insight just by playing Loki's Insight. That's one.
Cool.
Uncancelable Dexia's Advice just by being able to play it.
Sure.
Uncancelable Falling into the Cracks of Time to disrupt my opponent's plays. Uncancelable Recharge my God's Arts or give my entire board Eternal and Barrier, or do all of that and nuke your board and draw a card. Like
that was our answers. Don't take my answers away.
Very interesting. I'm very, very
Magic
interested.
Stone of Rain is very, very good. We
Yeah,
say that
very
blue
strong.
rulers are bad, but honestly, Aristella is a blue ruler and he's using the best blue cards and they're very good. Like
Yeah, let's see how many combination ban cards we have in here. Little Maria, blue. Child of the Ethereal Moon, blue ruler.
responds with
let's
memory. Sorry, I'm gonna
see.
say this. Responds with Memory of Worlds or Winds of Zeus or Persephone. Cool. You spent a card on a card that I was playing that I forced you to play a specific out by spending no additional resources. Like, if you were
Correct.
already going to cancel that card, fine. But I got an extra benefit to protecting that card simply by paying for it.
I got a
Like-
bonus effect for free for just playing my card, and you had to use a card to respond.
I
mean,
don't
like.
don't get me
I get what
wrong.
you're saying, Robert, but like also, like, cancels are still really good in this game, and we
Yeah.
have other tools that are not cancels in this game now, which is great. But this is just really strong.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think that I think that the Stone of Rain I don't think is ban worthy because of the things that you and I just talked about the fact of like there are other ways to stop blue spells from resolving that are not cancels, right? We have other tools. But the fact that a blue base ruler can just have this natural protection to kind of narrow the ways you can interact with them is a big boost to blue. So
Yeah.
I still spent mana on it. I spent mana that I was already going to be playing to play the card. That's fine.
In my respectful opinion, I do believe that you are correct in your assessment. I've just never seen a point in Enforceble's history where a mono blue stone was good enough to be banned with something else.
But it's not a mono blue stone, Paul. It's not a mono blue stone, Mike.
You're very close
It's a
on the
mono-
name there, Jeremy. You got this.
It's a mono blue stone. It's a mono blue stone that I can use for the mono blue effect when I want to protect something, or I can filter it into any other color from my Moon Children.
Yeah.
I can't protect it. I can't protect it if I use the filter, but I can still filter. That's the part about it.
So what you're telling me is Moon's Children was a mistake. Anyway, continue on.
I will say that I don't think this kills Veer as a deck. Not that like Veer was like
Not that Veer was a
super
deck.
threatening.
Damn,
Guys.
they really just killed my beer deck here.
Cries.
Right.
She has a selective silence in her super rare,
Yeah.
plus setting the stage, and that's all contained within blue. So like I think she's still fine. Like she's still gonna be a fun ruler to play. This doesn't break her, but man,
Toby's
sucks
saying
that
play.
her stone
play
had
it-
to get hit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, play Advice with Rain. It's gonna pop off hard. No, I think Dexia's Advice is just gonna be a strong card, but you can absolutely build your deck to respect Memory of Rain, and it's gonna be okay. Like or Stone of Rain, and it's gonna be fine. PSA: Stop trying to get greedy with Dexia's Advice super early. Just
No.
stop. Just stop.
No.
This
Like-
game does not reward greed.
Anymore. It used to. It used to a lot. It used to a lot.
Yes.
It has come a long way. It has come.
Greed
We
is
don't reward greed.
good.
Greed will win you games. It will win you matches. It will not win you tournaments. Alejandro can also agree with me on that from over in the Spain and the Seven Kings of the Land team. Greed wins games. Greed wins some matches. Greed will not win tournaments. Fundamentals, solid gameplay, knowing the meta. That is what wins you Force of Will tournaments. When the meta is healthy, which I think the meta is very healthy right now. PSA: unban hook to punish greedy stone bases.
Oh my
But
god!
I thought you were, buddy. I thought you were trying to. I thought you were trying to break Civil War. What happened to that? What happened to try to break Civil War? Maybe that card's bad. Hey.
It immediately went in the box. Just saying. They got boxed so fast.
I forgot what that card does. It's so fast.
It's a 4 cost. I said, nope. Destroy all magic stones? Something like that.
Yeah. Destroy all special magic stones on both sides. Yeah. Okay. So that's the ban list. Overall, I gave this list an 8.5, 9 out of 10, personally. Because I think that there are some things, like I said, while we were talking about it, things that I don't know if they needed to happen quite yet. Maybe watch list. Not hitting Sprinting Steward felt weird, but I see what they did to mess with Sprinting Steward. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not how I would have chosen to mess with Sprinting Steward, but they did still mess with Sprinting Steward, so I'm like, eh. But I'll still take an 8.5 out of 10 overall. Paul, what's your thoughts on the score of this ban list out of 10?
I realize the only reason I don't feel more confident in this list is because Scheherazade is on this list as no longer banned.
Sure.
If she were not there, I would just ignoring that name on the list. This was rather impressive. The fact that they were able to say oh no, we found 5 cards we'd be willing to ban when we were going into this thing we don't know what needs to go. Like there are a couple of things that we would say if these were to go, that'd be fine, but we don't know what needs to be combo banned. We had 4 cards maybe on a list. They came up with a giant list of things I didn't even think about. That alone puts this at a 9. Sherry coming off puts it more like an 8. I'm not really sure.
So we average it, and it's an 8.5. Got it. We've done it.
We did.
Yeah.
Patrick.
I'd probably give this a 9 to be honest. But I'm also the only thing that I'm not super cool about.
Perfect. Got it.
You know what? Go to Mike. Go to Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Still 7 out of 10 to me, personally speaking.
Because of?
I think that some of these combo bans were heavy-handed. I think some of the combo bans were a little too soft as well. I feel like I'm still very much a proponent of the fact that the combo ban list is not the right way to go. I still think that banning cards outright is the proper way to do things. But again, I will digress past that. Sure. I do think that some of the combo bans were a little too preemptive, in my opinion.
Okay. Cool. I'll take that. I mean, we're all pretty much we're all in the same kind of zone. It's 7, 8, 8.5-ish. We're all kind of in the same area. Yeah, that's fine.
7
the
and
range
above.
is pretty good. Yeah.
I'm feeling a light 7.
I'll take a light 7. That's fine.
Like a 6.93.
Nice.
Stop going down. Stop going down. I had him on light 7.
Like a 6.91.
But barely.
Maybe like a 6.8. I don't know.
Have any of you ever seen
I could have banned everything over here. This is a 2.
Have you seen Harry Potter musical? Anybody? This feels like the scene where Draco Malfoy is talking about the ugliest girl in school, and he goes, "It's Hermione Granger. On a scale of 1 to 10, she's like a 7. Maybe an 8. No better than a 9.5 because there's always room for improvement." And I'm just like, you guys are just doing the opposite, where you just keep adding down just keep knocking numbers off.
King Proton's correct. It is 6.9 out of 420.
Yeah, I'm with Pat. Scheherazade feels strange. So that's the only thing throwing a wrench in my stuff.
New here, are you all talking about the ban list or across the board just for one format? There's no one format ban list. It is across the board.
First off, welcome, Walter.
Oh, yeah, also welcome.
Hello.
Secondly, there is only one competitive format now, which is Wanderer, which is every card starting in Grim Cluster to the current release, plus the existence of this ban list. So we are talking about the primary and only competitive format. Glad to have you here. I do want to talk about this kind of as we go, because we don't have really time to speak about like the meta quite now. We'll talk about that next week. I think there's a good chunk of talking to be done there. To me, the biggest takeaway outside of how good the ban list is, what changes in the meta or whatever, is this is now 3 ban lists in a row that feel thought out and feel in tune with what the community is saying and the mission of the game state they want to create for FOW. Like intentionally about the game state they want to create. And that feels so good on so many levels, to feel like the first combination ban list had me like, this is a neat idea. I hope they figure it out. The second ban list was like, okay, well, they did the first one. How does it feel? It was great. The third one was even better. And now we have this one. And I'm like, my anxiety about problems sneaking through the ban list has, now that we've seen 3 back-to-back lists that have been so good, has dropped so much. Like really significantly, that I have a lot more confidence in understanding that the format is going to be good when the new ban list drops, and they're going to catch stuff so much more than we ever did before. And that to me is just really nice, just like really nice to have in the environment, to be able to have that confidence. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would say, even though I'm personally hesitant about Scheherazade coming off the list, and the rest of the list looks really good, but I can kind of trust that the design team is gonna like really take that particular unbanning seriously, and they are watching her, and they've been like really good stewards of the list so far. So, even though I'm personally a little leery, I think that leeriness is for the card. It's specifically not for the R&D team. If
The
that makes
R&D
any sense.
team is doing fantastic outside of like 1 or 2 cards in a set that were like, why does this get printed? But the ban list by itself, I think, is coming along fantastic. Things are getting hit that need to get hit. Things are coming off that aren't as relevant, I guess you could say, anymore.
Let's all pour one out for True Blade of Spirits.
That card needs to stay gone, because that still does 600 damage, doesn't it? That still kills
400.
It's 400.
It's 400.
500.
Oh, sorry, it's 500.
2 cost or less.
So pour one out for True Blade.
I guess, yeah, our 2 drops are bigger now, but
yeah,
still.
Peace.
I think overall it's just going well for the formats going forward.
Yeah.
I will say I wish Aristella got 1 more hit. I just don't want to.
As an Aristella player, I'm totally fine with what he got hit with. I will say that in the fact of like the way Aristella looks now is the way that I was already playing Aristella. Like with these bans, like people are gonna have to kind of more mold to the way that I was playing Aristella before.
Yeah, that's the same thing that I was playing with like Osco, where I was like, all right, I just take Switch out of my sideboard. Okay.
Well,
Continue.
It's more just like, for me, it's more this piece of like, I talked to Paul. It's like I was going into the Converging Wheels event trying to prove with a top 8 result that you can play a deck that is just trying to play good core FOW. Like you don't have to do gimmicks and be successful. And sure, like someone could say like, oh, the day the Arthur death metal thing was like a gimmick, and I'm like, I used that once against 1 matchup, like because I knew that was a bad matchup. So it wasn't necessarily really like a gimmick. It was a tech to shore up a bad matchup. But like the deck was not trying to be gimmicky. It was just trying to like play solid, play tight, be fair, and win. And like put up the results for it. And so for me to tell people like, hey, with these bans, you're kind of being driven towards a fair Aristella, and I've already shown you that it's possible to play just fair Fow. And that to me is great. That to me is great. I do have one last thing to share with people here tonight, because we have gotten approval from the company. Gotta remember where I posted this. Is it in here? Yes. Okay. On April 1st, on the Ruler School server, we will have more information. We will have more information for this. We are going to be hosting a Discord international event. Details coming soon. It's not going to be as fancy as Converging Wills, but it is going to be kind of designed to just like give people another chance to play in an event, to test it out between the GPs, because we have 2 GPs in this environment, while also helping us generate some funds for FowFest. More details coming soon. It is going to be open to international, and I know for right now, top 8 are going to walk away with this mat, which is on screen right now.
I don't have it up. No.
I don't either, but I bet it's cool.
It's cool.
I like it.
Top 8 are gonna walk away with this custom, approved by the company, Moon Children playmat for the top 8.
All 10 of them, or
all 5? The 5 of them, the first 5.
Okay.
Wow.
So
The best ones.
Wow.
yeah, so I just wanted to share that out with people. April 1st. It's not an April Fool's joke. There is an argument to be made about trying to make the event kind of an April Foolsy kind of theme.
Talk
But
to me, Jeremy.
I think we're just gonna play Wanderer to give people a chance to test between GPs. So
Have Mike Rance come up with the rules. That'll be the real April Fools.
that's gonna be the event. April 1st. More details coming soon. It's gonna be a nice fundraiser for FowFest, as well as just a cool way to give people more time to test. It will be international. So yeah, there you go. I was told that I was supposed to give away promos tonight from CCG Prime, but it's 10 minutes after we normally done, so we're gonna give away 2 play sets of promos next week. So
awesome.
there you go. So thank you all so much for being here. As always, if you want to consider supporting us, you can click that join button down below to consider joining the channel as a member, get access to all the emotes, and become a student here at Ruler School. If not, though, we just want you to like and share and subscribe, as always, to help people know what we're doing. There will be no featurette this week because we got to record stuff for the new rulers, but we'll get back into that next week. And then we got a GP in 2 weekends, so looking forward to that. So kind of a slow week here as we get ready for GPs. But until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined, as always, by Paul Reisman.
I hope my basement gets dry.
Yeah.
Instead of beer.
Patrick Ogrins.
We're down a game.
And Mike Rance.
I just posted in Horsebowl Global. So everyone who wants Mike Rance to ruin Jeremy's April 1st event, let him know.
Get in the
Until
comments.
next time, class dismissed. Bye, everybody.
Bye.